Welcome aboard, passengers. Mega Sim here. Hopefully you're doing alright. It's Friday. We've got a nice weekend to look forward to. We may be indoors, but, we can still have a lot of fun. Hopefully you're having a good weekend so far. It's the evening. Well, in the UK, it's the evening, so yeah, it's all good. But today's video, or this video, is a new news article around the Clinchfield Railroad. And it's all about building the F7. So we know in the previous news article we had one image which was Tom Connell's artistic impression of the the artistic painting artwork of the train on Clinchfield Railroad. I'm trying to get my words out. But then we saw a lot of normal, real photography. So there was nothing of the train itself and of the route. But this is where it's going to change, okay? So we are going to see a few photos now, which are going to go round and round again, so you get to see them, of the F7. Now these are pre-release, so they will be in weird colours and all of that. But we're going to look through the news article together while seeing these images. So this is catching up with the Loco team to find out more about the EMD F7 for Clinchfield Railroad. So this classic railroading route will take control of the instantly recognisable EMD F7 diesel locomotive. Instantly recognisable to myself that I've never seen it before. Dressed in the vibrant and gold dust coated Clinchfield Railroad livery. So we're going to chat with James Moody, senior physics engineer, who we spoke to in the TGV duplex feature, and Callum Wagstaff, the assistant technical designer, to find out more about the creation of this iconic logo. So Callum is introducing himself. He spends most of his days putting together the locomotives and the conversion between player interaction and locomotive interaction, putting the safety systems and the warning devices and making sure they feed back to the player. Write what the player should do when they interact with them. So yeah, Callum, you're doing a good job. Just thinking of 465. That's amazing. So yeah, hopefully you've had a good part in that. So James has asked, can you tell us what is unique and special about the F7? So the F7 is the oldest locomotive they've done so far, much earlier than anything they've done in the US previously. Now, historical content in Britain, the earliest they've done is the Class 101 DMU. Yep, we've seen that on Tees Valley, we've seen that on Northern Transpennine, and we're going to be seeing it on Diesel Legends of the Great Western, so they're really pushing that one out. And that's from the early 50s, but F7 dates back to 1949, so it's been challenging creating something that old. The older something is, the more difficult the research materials to get. But they were lucky in this case, because the F7 are really famous and people collect information about them. So just looking at the production history of when they were made, there weren't any uniform F7s that were all the same. It was like ordering from a car dealer and being told, this is the 1949 model and here is the option sheet, and each railroad selected varying options. So they had a challenge trying to work out exactly what were in the F7s by the 1970s, which are the ones that they're trying to depict 20 years after they had been built and they're a bit run down. They've been maintained by the local shop as well, so there's a lot of documentation, but very little of it agrees across the board. Now the railroad they are representing is famous for not cleaning anything, so you can see how they reacted with their stock changes. At the point where they're recreating a 20 to 25 year old locomotive that is still in frontline service and hadn't been pushed down at all. So they would take a set that was originally intended to be 4 vehicles together with 2 A's and 2 B's in the middle. Instead they were using the A units heavily, but the B's don't have a cab and weren't as flexible, so they were traded in individually against new locomotives for credit with the manufacturer. So then they put the A units together and just lashed them up, however. So yeah, just going back to that. So what they had is they had the front loco, which is what we see in these images, but there was also a middle loco. But there was no cab, it was just the motor kind of thing. So they got rid of them for new locos. So in the end, they were having 4 A units running nose to tail, all facing the same way. So yeah, they were really going for it, weren't they, with these vehicles. So what is different with creating older locomotives compared to newer ones? Well, James said what's different is the technology. Everything is just a bit more agricultural. all the way through, and through the personality of the loco is in showing all of that and making it apparent to the player. Now, if it works the same as a modern sterile locomotive, it doesn't have that personality it needs for a loco of that era. You know, even if we just compare the Class 66 compared to a 47 or a 20, or, you know, going for that, a 31 or a 33, you know, just the difference in that. But yeah, that's kind of what they're viewing. So Callum said they've tried very hard to capture the feeling of being in that time period. Inside the cab of the S7 is quite a small enclosed cab, so there's not a lot of headroom in places or space to move, yet it's set very high in the loco, so you'll have to climb up quite a long ladder to get into the cab, feeling very unique. You stand up, you move around, you experience that cramped feeling you would in real life. It should feel different to anything else that they've created and offers a player a new viewpoint. I'm looking forward to this. This sounds good. So, compared to the SD40 that is paired with in this route, it's going to be quite a different driving experience between the two. I like that. I like difference. I don't want it to be all the same. So, you know, GP38 and an SD40 are very similar, so it's quite nice that we're going to get the F7 and the SD40 on that. Don't count me to it. I know you guys are going to come back going, no, the GP38 does this and the SD40. You know what I'm talking about. So, how did they create the loco? What steps did they take? So, James is currently looking through a 260-page manual for what? The brake valve. There are so many variants, so many pieces to understand. And then he has to put them in the computer using Simulgraph and get it to represent what he's reading. So, there are so many little interactions with it. So, the Simulgraph, the idea is to represent the how, and then all the other behaviours come out of it the other end. So, how do they collect that information? Well, Callum said that for an older locomotive, collecting that information is difficult because they were made for nearly 50 routes across America, Canada, and Mexico, all having their own differences, their own tweaks, their small refurbishments over the years. All of those things have changed depending on where you look. So they had to look at Clinchfield locos, not Canadian or Mexican locos of, you know, the F7. So at the start of the project like this, he spends a few days researching, starting with a jumping off point like an engine man's manual, and then more in-depth searches for specific details. Rolling stock forums can be a huge help because folks who used to drive these locos are active members on there, so they can shed some light on the nuance of certain controls. And if they can't find what they're looking for, the team at Dovetail and the members of their Discord and beta forums all have a great depth of knowledge on all things trains. Now, James has said that the older something is, the more people put information online for fun. So these locos are run typically by museums and heritage centres, so they tend to share what they have found because it was difficult for them to find, probably to, you know, put them back to their original state. So they've also got academic projects using it because at this point some of these manuals are old enough to be out of copyright. So, you know, there's some good stuff there. Spent ages trying to identify if the particular F7 they were representing had dynamic brakes or if they didn't. Period photos of the routes, staring at the digitized pixels at the top, thinking, is that a dynamic brake? Isn't it? And ended up coming to the conclusion that some have, you know, some have and some haven't. So it was just trying to look at that. So, what have they enjoyed about creating this route? Well, Callum has said designing the transitional lever, which you don't really see very much now. So that was fun to implement because it has a lot of different states that you need to act at different times. You have to leave the throttle off for a good amount of time before the dynamic brake will kick in. There are a lot of interlocking controls that are difficult to put together and master. And when it comes to driving, that will be a nice challenge. And James has said it is a very different driving experience. This has the old control stand from the very early days of EMD diesels. Everything they've done so far has had the sort of -2 controls from the mid-70s. So that was actually quite a good interview. I am looking forward to seeing this. Now, I know I said at the beginning about the photos of the 4A trains. We are looking, you know, with that pink train. I'm guessing Matt's involved. No, the reason why they have it pink is for the design and things like that. But yeah, I think we are getting the second train, the B loco, behind. So that's good. So even though by the 20, 30 years later they were getting rid of those B locos and just having a load of A's, it looks like we're going to get the B loco as well. So that's nice. Hopefully we get to walk through or be able to interact some of the time, with that train, with the second loco, the B loco on there. But yeah, what do you think? Are you looking forward to Clinchfield Railroad? You know what my thoughts are. It's freight. I'm not great on freight. I prefer passenger, but I'm still going to have a good go at it. I'm still going to have a go on this route. I'm going to get it as soon as I can on console, or get that, have a go on it, and show you guys as well. So don't worry, I'm still going to do all of that, even if you're umming and ahhing of what if you're going to get it or not. I'm definitely going to try it. We're going to do a live stream. We're going to do recordings. We're going to go for it, okay? Hopefully by then we'll be able to figure out how we can do longer recordings, because I'm guessing that these routes are going to be a lot longer than an hour. So we'll try and sort something out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Social media links are in the description below. Have a great weekend. We have got some videos coming up of the 465 over the weekend, so sit back, relax, and enjoy them at the usual time. 3 p.m. UK Standard Time, UTC, GMT, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, have a great weekend. We'll see you on the next video. This is Mega Sim out of here. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.